Hi, Misty. Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your really busy schedule to do yoga core again this Tuesday. As always, just check that you have a safe space. We're going to be doing some things lying on our side. So doing some side body stuff. Sorry, I just got a tornado drill warning popped up on my, sorry, I'm going to close it. Yes, okay. Sorry. I'm on a group health computer. And so I just had an emergency. Anyway, back to the class. Sorry. We're going to do some side body things. And so if you need a little extra padding, if you have, bony hips, you might want to grab a blanket or a towel. We're also going to be doing a little bit of maybe side balance. And so I have a yoga block. You could use a chair or a wall just to remind you that you don't have to stay stuck on your mat when we're doing the balance work. If you want to run and grab a chair or grab a yoga block or, move your mat towards a wall so you have something to balance close to, awesome. But you can also do that in the middle of practice, okay? So as normal, as usual, we will start either sitting or if it's more comfortable for you, lying on your back, taking a couple moments, catch your breath, give yourselves time to center, to ground, come into your body. Feel the floor, feel the ground. As you allow yourself to slow down, physical body slowing down, you might notice how your breath slows down. You might find and feel a little more spacious between your thoughts. If you find it helpful, you could put a hand on your chest. You could put a hand on your lower belly. So taking the next few moments here, we want to try and quiet the breath down in our chest. So when you're breathing here, notice if you feel a lot of movement up in your chest, over the next few breaths, that could be 5 to 10 to 15 breaths, we want to feel less movement. So you can feel that, yeah, I'm still breathing there, but there's not such a dynamic rise and fall of the collarbones and the shoulders. There's more space and ease. And you can feel the breath a little more than underneath your lower hand. So as you inhale the rise of the navel, expanse of the belly area. As you exhale, the navel releasing back, the ribs releasing back towards the floor or back behind you. So less movement in the top hand. Feeling connecting to the movement of the breath in the lower hand. Breathing in and out through your nose. Take about 5 more breaths like this. And then drawing some awareness to the shape of your spine here when you're on your back. So if you were sitting, you're going to come and just make your way onto your back. Knees are going to bend. So we'll all bend our knees. Arms can just come down by your side. And just feeling the neutral curves of your spine. So you have your head nice and heavy, a neutral neck curve. It's the back of the shoulders resting naturally towards the floor. And then the length of the back of your rib cage on the floor. And when you get to your lower lumbar, It's just a sweet little neutral curve down there. And then you can feel your hips and your legs and your feet. We'll take 3 breaths here. And again, as you're breathing, when you feel the residue, the sensations of your breath underneath your navel, feel the breath down in your lower ribs. Easy, light chest breathing. See if you can keep your spine in this neutral S-curve shape as you bring your right knee up over your right hip. As you bring your left knee up over your left hip. Point your toes up, wiggle your toes, and then we're just going to bend and straighten the legs 5 times. Trying to maintain this S-curve in your spine. So, as you straighten your legs, it might feel really easy for you to push your low back into the floor. Try and resist doing that, okay? So, if the back of your legs are really tight, you might stop before you straighten your legs. That's okay. If you're going all the way and like really stretching, try not to snap your knee. Okay, and try not to push your low back into the floor. So each one of us is going to define legs straight, and that's going to be a little bit dependent on what's going on in your low back. So you want to try and keep that low lumbar curve and have your legs a little straighter. This might be a little straighter, right? This is a little straighter than this, okay? So get a little hamstring stretch, and then we're going to go out wide and pull them in. So you can imagine you're in water and you have to push the leg out and pull the leg in. Now you might work a little bit with rotation. So here's your thigh bone. You can roll your knees out, okay, and roll in. So way up here in your hip socket, roll the thigh bone out so your knees and toes follow. Roll them in. And then you might feel a little more openness through the hip as you go out and in, okay? And just do maybe 5 more. Yep, you can do this with a big bend in your knee, okay? Trying to keep your spine in neutral. I noticed I was pushing my low back into the floor. So I have to constantly check in and feel that relationship between my low back, my hamstring tightness, my low back tightness. And then we'll bring the legs back together one more time. Just find your straight and take 3 breaths. And this time, as you take your 3 breaths, you're reaching out through the back of the leg. See if you can invite some ease through the front of the shoulders, through the ribs, maybe even some ease in your face and your jaw. With your next exhale, just bend your knees. Knees are going to come over your hips again. We're going to bring the hands to the tops of the thigh bones. Elbows are going to float off the floor. And we're just going to do that push-pull. So you're going to push your thigh bones away. At the same time, you're pulling your thigh bones in and trying to really activate a little more of how we define that core through that rectangle. So you might start to feel a little more activation connection in your upper back, under your shoulder blades, through the back of your arm triceps. You might feel this a little more in your upper abdominals, lower rib area. 2 more breaths, really push, 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 pull, pull, pull. And then with your exhale, lower everything down. Come back to your body breathing. Give yourself 3 inhales and 3 exhales, in and out through your nose. Then after those breaths, focus on the shape of your spine again. So back of the head, soft neck curve, length of the rib cage on the floor, soft lumbar curve, low back curve, heavy hips. Okay. So last week we worked with the pole. If you remember, if you were here last week, we put a pole on our back. So those 3 points, you have the back of your skull, you have your mid-back area, and your tailbone. Without the pole, a nice way to feel this is your ear, your shoulder, and your hip. So when we're on the floor really helps support us. We're gonna roll over onto your side. It doesn't matter. We're gonna say top, bottom, so you can come to whatever side. You can either stack on your forearm or you can come down on your elbow. And we're gonna stack again. So ear in line with shoulder, in line with hip. Your knees can come more like your tabletop. So you're taking your back constructive rest pose and just rolling it over onto the side, either down here on your elbow or up here on your forearm, okay? So what we really want to check with this posture is that we're not collapsing down, all right? So you're gonna push into your forearm, and that's gonna help give this lift up, connect through these lower ribs, connect through these crisscross oblique muscles. Shoulder down out of your ear. Same if you're down here. If you're down here, it's really easy to just fall in and just let gravity pull you into the floor. So you're gonna have to push down, ground down. You're not gonna lift as much, but you can feel some engagement in these lower side abdominals, this lower side rib cage, still drawing in and down, okay? So let's give ourselves a little bit of time in either one of these places to explore that, getting that strength, all right? So side bodies are long, top ear in line with shoulder, in line with hip. Then your top arm is gonna come out in front of you, and you're gonna reach that top arm out, okay? Now, when you reach that top arm out, try not to take your shoulder forward. So your shoulder, we're gonna learn, is gonna try and stay stacked over that bottom one, okay? So you're gonna activate some muscles under the shoulder blades, might help you feel shoulder blades on your back a little more. We're gonna lift that top arm up and then push down, okay? So when you bring that arm up, try and stabilize your spine so it's not pushing forward, it's not rocking back. So you're here nice and steady, spine like it was on the floor. You're lifting just the arm shoulder without using the ribs to go forward and back, without the spine moving. So the spine's gonna resist movement. Same idea down here, okay? Stabilize, resist movement through your spine. We'll do 3 more. Okay, next time your arm is up, we're gonna pause. We're gonna press down through the forearm or through the back of this tricep and really try and stretch through the front of the chest across the back, getting some nice width across the collarbones of the back. Take a full inhale. With your exhale, shoulders can rest down out of your ears, and then let that arm come down. Okay, so next option from this, if you're down here, we're gonna all push up to here, okay? You're gonna find that strength through that bottom forearm, through the tricep, up into your back shoulder, okay? So ears can lengthen out of the shoulder, okay? We're not here. Push down. Now we're gonna take that arm up. If you want more challenge, you're gonna be here. Less challenge, you're gonna be down here, and this arm and this back shoulder are gonna help you. We're gonna push and get the hips up. So you're gonna ground down to lift, and then try not to drop, go slow, okay? So you're here, maybe your hands on your rib hip, maybe your hands down, okay? And you're gonna push up, it's gonna come, feel this hip engage, and lower down, okay? Knees can come in a little more. If you want, they can come back. So play with these different areas. Try for about 5. Going up, control it down. After 5, you're gonna hold that last one up. Maybe it's just a little bit. See, my hip isn't very far up. Maybe you're coming higher. Everyone's gonna have just the right place. If this is too much, go right back to here, okay? And you're gonna reach, and we're gonna do the arm work again. So try and keep your arm bone back in the socket. Lift, maybe spin, maybe go take that arm through and up. Try for 5. If 5's too many, do 2. Just challenge yourself. After 5, come on down. You're gonna come to tabletop, so we'll meet back in table. Push back into a child's pose. Arms either out in front or arms come back behind. Take 5 breaths. Just give yourself a moment to feel the floor again. Try and breathe in and out through your nose. Just letting your body reconnect, feel itself breathe. And then we're gonna roll over to the opposite side, line things up, okay? So remember this stack. You can be down here to stack. You can be up here to stack, okay? So ears, shoulders, hips, ribs knit. So it's really easy to push the chest forward. So just like when you're on your back, can you feel that backpack area of your spine? Just like if it were on the floor, it's drawing back. Reaching that arm forward, but not taking the shoulders super far forward. Okay, that might help you feel your shoulder blade, and then just lift and lower. Stabilize, resist movement, especially in that middle spine area. So easy for us to do this kind of rock and roll thing with the spine, okay? So nice and strong. How stable can you be as you move that right or top shoulder blade arm? Maybe you have your left arm moving. Then decide, do you want your arm up? Do you want your arm down? We're all gonna come up onto the forearm. Try not to collapse. Nice and strong. Use this arm if you need some help. Lift and look, okay? So maybe the arm comes to your hip or out in front or up, and lift without dropping, okay? So it's up and it's controlled and slow going down. It's a lot of upper back shoulder work. You don't have to lift very high. You can move your knees around, decide where that works best for you. Just try and challenge yourself. Do, even 1. After you think you've done about 5, you're tired, come on down. And you're gonna set it up just the right lift. Reach that arm forward, reach up. Maybe turn it into a little bit of a twist. Threading underneath, taking it up. Now remember, when you thread underneath, you want to really stabilize your hip. So your top hip isn't really moving, it's stacked. You're trying to get the movement in the rib cage. Having the hips up is too much, no big deal. Take the hips down. Let's try 2 more. Then after those 2 more, you're gonna meet back in table. So we're all gonna come and build our tabletop. Remember, in your table, give yourself time to build your table. So nice strong fingers, strong forearms, shoulders over wrists. If this is too much for your wrist, you can push back a little bit. You can build on your knuckles, you can come down on your forearms, okay? Then again, midline, ears to shoulders to hips. If you want more challenge here, maybe you walk your legs out wide towards a wide leg plank. You could hold your plank for a little bit. If you want less, you're on your knees. If you want even less and you just want to come back, relax and breathe. Find your child's pose. We're all going to be in our shapes for 5 more breaths. Move through the shapes as you need to. So maybe you started in plank and you're tired. You can always come to tabletop. Maybe you started in child's pose and you want something a little more challenging and you come to plank. With your next exhale, we're going to find tabletop. We're going to curl our toes and then lift up and back and take a downward facing dog. Pedal out your feet a little bit. You can walk your feet forward and back so you can feel just the right amount of calf stretch, hamstring stretch, low back connection for you. Try and just let your head hang, rest through your jaw, your face, your eyes. We'll take 3 breaths. If you're feeling really tight in your low back or your hamstrings, gentle reminder, bend your knees, pull those hip creases, sit bones back. When you're ready with your next exhale, walk your hands and feet together. Come up really, really slowly, okay? So I'm just gonna come up and feel the transition through the legs, the hips, and the spine, the shoulders, and the head as you come up. Come on up, and as you stand, 3 breaths, just to come back to your present moment experience. What are you feeling? What do you notice? And then we're going to step your feet wide. So right here, we're going to take your left leg in and your right leg out. Okay. Right here, see if you can find and feel pretty much equal weight, front leg to back leg. Out, down through the legs, into the heels, out through the toes. So if you were standing on 2 scales, it would be pretty similar. It doesn't have to be exact, but it would be similar. Then if we come back to the idea of neutral spine, for some of us, it's really easy. We might already be tucking the tailbone. How do we know that? Your pelvis is going to be tipped back. Others of us might be anteriorly tilting, coming forward like this, and that you might feel really tight and compressed in your mid-back, or your front hips are poking forward. So feeling this pelvis, again, like a bull, more upright, tailbone down, your ribs dropping down and back. Maybe you feel the remnants, the muscle memory of the pull from last week. Maybe the ears, the shoulders, the hip, the side body helps. Can you keep those points with equal weight in your awareness as you bend and straighten your right knee? Okay, so as you bend your right knee, try not to tuck your tail or tip forward. And the hips, the shoulders, the ears. Stay in your awareness. If you have the pole, could your 3 points stay on the pole? Next time your right knee's bent, pause. Just hang out for a couple of breaths. Coming back to the grounding of the legs, you have about the same amount of weight, front leg to back leg. You could have your hands on your hips. You could bring your fingertips together. We're going to take 3 breaths. Try and breathe in and out of the nose and see if you can feel a little bit of the breath behind your navel. Then we're going to tip over into your side angle. So you're going to tip and either put your right hand or your elbow on your right knee and your left hand on your hip. So we were just on our sides. We were pushing down to lift up. So we really want to feel that connection again. It's easy to just fall into the right knee. So elbow down, ground down, lift the bottom rib cage up, connect that bottom right side from the hip through the ribs into your armpit, out your ear. Okay, now remember, shoulders were stacked on our side. So can you get your top left shoulder to stack over that bottom shoulder, to have the ribs stacked, have the hips stacked? Give yourself some time. There's no hurry. Working deep in the hips to help stabilize with your abdominals, front, side, back. Take a couple moments, settle. If you want more challenge, just like we did on the floor, the left arm can lift up. I'm going to take a little bit longer hold, maybe soften through the hands. Down through that right elbow to lift and stretch across the chest. As you take a couple more breaths in and out through your nose, and you still feel some of the breath down here. Your belly's probably not pushing in and out a whole lot. You can still feel the residue of the breath behind your navel. I'm going to come up to that warrior two shape. So you're going to come on up, equalish weight through the feet, outstretch your arms. This is a little too much for your shoulders. Bring your hands together. Try and find one more time. Left back leg, front right leg, about the same amount of weight. Stretch out through the fingertips and try and soften through the tops of the shoulders, the jaw, the eyes. Couple more breaths, just a little bit longer here. With your exhale, straightening your right leg, bringing your hands to your hips. Right leg rolls in, left leg rolls out. So similar to that first side, equalish weight. You have two scales. Nice and heavy, grounded, strong through both legs. As you bend and straighten that left leg a couple times. Moving a little differently this side. Now add hips, shoulders, ears. So your spine doesn't have to move a whole lot here, does it? Next time your left knee is bent, pause. Ears back in line with shoulders, shoulders over hips. Mid tip at your hip. So as you tip, you're still stacked. Hips, shoulders, ears. Give yourself a moment to understand that in your body. You had the pull from last week. Maybe that's helpful muscle memory. Maybe feeling your right ear stacked over your right shoulder. Stacked over your rib, stacked over your hip. And this top shoulder stack over this bottom shoulder. Sometimes we fling the shoulder weight back and push the ribs way out and press the back. So just going slow enough that you can hold from a place of deep internal strength and let's work some of these other parts out. Maybe the right arm lifts. So maybes are always progressions. Meeting yourself where you are. Sure you're not collapsing down, falling into the left hip. And the lower deep belly is really working to help stabilize. You might feel parts of your breath still in the navel area, in the low back. Up to your warrior two. See if you can reconnect through the legs. Press out, reach out through the arms. Trying to feel a little more equal weight, back right leg, strong front left leg. Your back right leg's really strong too, right? And feel that strong, long connection in the right back leg. Take a couple more breaths. And then straighten. Both feet are gonna come a little more straight, and then you're gonna find some rotation. So you could lift your heels and roll them in a little bit. You could either lift your toes and roll them out a little bit. Remember when we were on the back, we were rolling the legs out to find a little more open or a little more movement, a little more freedom in the hip. Same idea here. So for a lot of us, when you roll this leg in the socket, knees are gonna go out, toes are gonna go out. That's gonna give us a sumo spot, and it's gonna just open up this front hip area a little more for us. We wanna be mindful of, as we go up and down in your sumo again, is ears, shoulders, hips. Okay, it's really easy to go down or to be tucked like this, or to be too anteriorly tilted like this. Okay, so hips are a bowl. Can you keep the bowl lifted? Maybe imagine there's some liquid. You have a pelvic bowl full of tea and you want to go up and down. If you need more challenge, lift your heels just a piece of paper. Go up and down to your capacity 2 more times. You might be going really, really low. You might be going just a millimeter. And then come back up. All right. Then take your feet, keep them wide. Left leg's gonna roll in. Right leg's gonna roll out. I'm gonna go first so you can see, so you can kind of just move on your own if you want. We're gonna come back to this warrior 2. So we're going backwards into what we just did, okay? You're gonna do the warrior 2 shape first. Then you're gonna tip with strength into your side angle. And then you're gonna decide, I have a block, maybe you're next to a wall or a chair. If you want a lot more challenge, you could put a block here, you could put a chair here, you could be by the wall, okay? You're gonna slowly lift your back heel up and you're gonna have to shift the weight. Maybe put your hand on the block, maybe you just put your hand in the air and you can work on coming up and balancing, okay? So I need a block. I'm gonna come up, maybe lift your back leg, okay? So if you were doing it, let's come back, let's start here, okay? Left leg rolls in, right leg rolls out, that's where we're headed. Bend your right knee. Find that pelvic bowl lifting up. Ears stack, shoulder stack, hip stack. Tip it over. Elbow or hand, come to your thigh bone. Remember your side angle. Push down. Try not to collapse. I think I cheated. We missed warrior 2. We got to do warrior 2. Find your warrior 2. Okay, pelvis lifts. From your warrior 2, I forgot, go with your side angle. I'm just so excited to do the side angle to the balance with you. Push down to lift up. Feel that strength. Now, you could stop right here. You could stop here. If you want, test it first. Maybe bring your arm down. Can you hold this from that core area? And then just start to lift your back heel and shift. Really strong in that right hip, then maybe you start to tip. Use whatever is there and maybe lift your left leg. Now, you could also have your hand down on the floor if that works. And you don't have to lift this leg very much. You might lift it high, you might not. You might work on just tapping it, okay? Your right hip into your thigh bone. Feel your thigh bone going into your hip. It's probably getting pretty loud, like it's talking to you, this hip over here. Listen to it. If you need to take a break, take a break. If you find the balance, hang out in the balance. Maybe you can work on taking your left arm up. Everybody has their own version. It's not easy. And then you come back up. Woo. And just pause for a moment. What was that? If you're using a block or a chair, put it over to the other side. Give yourself a break for a moment, shake things out. Whew. Right leg rolls in, left leg rolls up. Build your foundation. Remember your foundation, equal weight. I should say equal-ish weight. Hips, ribs, shoulders, ears. It's all in your awareness. We're not trying to do it perfect. Well, I guess we're trying to do it your way perfect. And that's really just being embodied and being aware of what's going on. Perfect is staying embodied. Staying aware of your breath in your body, paying attention to how you're moving. So you go from this warrior two, perfect, trying, tipping. We're grounding to lift up, just like we did earlier. Maybe you're lifting your right heel. Maybe this is as far as you decide you want to go. Give yourself lots of time. And just work on getting there. It's not really so much about the destination. It's more about how are you getting to your destination? And you're really deciding where your destination is. You might have already felt or done a lot of exercises, a lot of yoga. There's really no final destination. So we get somewhere, we pause, we just continue to check in. How is this feeling when we're breathing? Maybe we need to rest because the left hip is tired. Maybe it's hard for us to breathe or balance. We want to feel a little safer. Find your own place. You're the only one that feels this. And then come down out of it, slow, strong, and steady. Just, what was that? Give yourself a moment. Collect your thoughts, feel your body, feel your breath. You need to shake it all out. Great, and then we're going to walk to the back of your mat. And just put both feet underneath your hips. Come back to a place of solid foundation. So give yourself a couple moments to reconnect. How do you find grounding? Because sometimes those side balances are really hard and we don't always feel really physically grounded in them. So here's your chance. You're back, both feet underneath you. There's the ground, there's your breath. Come back in, 3 breaths. With your next exhale, we're going to go down through a sun salutation. We're going to take your arms out and up. Bend your knees. You might even come into like your chair pose. So remember, if you're coming into your chair, you're really pushing your hip creases back. You can look down and see your toes. Now, here's a really good shape where we push the chest forward. So ribs knit down and in. Navel can draw back a little bit. Can you feel that length? I'm moving my arms so you can see the length in my spine compared to this. You see the difference between this and the ribs knit. So ribs knit are down and in, back. Then fold slowly forward. Try not to fall. So fold slowly. Walk your hands out. Build your tabletop or your downward facing dog. If downward facing dog isn't your thing, come to table. Come to child's pose. I'm going to take 3 more breaths. I'm going to exhale, lower all the way down. Do 3 slow cat-cow. So inhaling slowly through your cow. Let your exhale help you round into your cat. Just go with your breathing. And then when you get through 3 cat-cows, we're gonna push back into child's pose. If child's pose is hard on your knees, you can't really get back. You can come up to sitting, you can come up to crisscross applesauce. You can bring your feet out in front of you and hug your knees. Okay, so child's pose or sitting crisscross applesauce or bringing your legs out and just rounding and breathing. Let's take 3 breaths. Great, and then we're all gonna come on up to sitting. And we'll come on up and sit, and we're just gonna bring your feet out in front of you. I'm gonna push your toes down, okay? So toes nice and long going forward. So if you're gonna pour water down your shins, it would flow all the way down and out, okay? We're gonna hold on to the back of the knees. So right now, I'm sitting up on my sit bones, on the top of the sit bones. So you could find the top of your sit bones, and then we're gonna slowly sit back on the back of our sit bones, which then we go on to our sacrum, which is that triangular bone in the back of the pelvis. And then you might round a little bit onto your lower back. And then you're gonna use your arms and your strength and pull yourself back. Okay, we're gonna do a couple more of those really slowly. Try not to grip in your chest and not to over grip in your hips. So feeling a little more ease in the eyes and the face and the neck. Feeling hopefully a little more ease in your hips. And then you're going to use the strength of the upper back of your arms to pull you up. Now, I'm going back pretty far just to demo. You might be coming this far because the awareness is to have less grip in the shoulders, to have less grip in your hip. If you're coming back and then all of a sudden this is getting really tight, you're going a little too far. All right, so a couple more. Next time you pull yourself up, we're just going to come up, pause, connect to your ribs moving as you breathe. So as you exhale again, the ribs drawing down, the ribs drawing in or back. 2 more breaths like that. Now find your sternum, find your breastbone. And your breastbone, like an elevator, it's going to lift up. Okay, so when you exhale and feel your ribs going down and back, let your sternum elevator go up. So you're working in opposition. Exhale, the ribs are going to go down and back. Your sternum's going to lift up. And just see if you can thread that into your inhale. 2 more breaths like that. So exhaling. Sternum lifting up. Maybe you feel a little lift between your shoulder blades, getting maybe a little bit of that cow feel there. And then just find good old easy posture. Hands on the back of your legs. Let everything kind of just rest. It's okay if you start to round and relax. And then you're going to roll all the way down onto your back. When you get onto your back, we're going to take your knees up over your hips. Right leg's going to stretch up to the ceiling. You're going to cross it over your left leg and just hold on to the back of the leg and just stretch out your right hip for 3 breaths. With your 3rd or 4th exhale, you're going to switch sides. Both legs can come back up. Bend your right knee. Left leg comes over the right thigh bone. You can hold on to the back of the right leg. 3 breaths. With that third or fourth breath, let go, both legs come back up. Stretch through the heels, stretch through the balls of the feet. And bend your knees. One leg at a time, bring them down. Outstretch your legs, let your arms rest down by your side. Just let your legs roll open. Let your hips feel heavy, your spine feel heavy, your arms and your head. And just giving yourself a couple minutes here to really just feel the floor again. Let gravity pull you into the ground. Give yourself a couple more long exhales. I'm going to count 3 more exhales, and on your third exhale, you'll start to move the body again. Maybe this is your third exhale. Can you pay attention, feel your body breathing as you wiggle your fingers and your toes? Maybe you take your arms up overhead, do a full body stretch. Maybe you draw your knees into your chest. And then we'll slowly roll over and come on up to sitting. So as you roll over and come on up to sitting, if you want to hang out for Q&A, if you have some questions, please hang out. I'll open up the Q&A. You can ask questions. If you're heading out, going back to work, I apologize. I kept you a couple minutes long today. It's hard for me to see the clock in here. So thank you so much for taking time out of your really busy week again to come do class with us.